bonus virtue for the month of June. Memo to every corporation. It's that time of year when you change your profile pictures to all colors of the rainbow for the Alphabet Mafia. Be sure to do your annual cash grab to show your virtue, but act fast. This only lasts for 30 days because on July 1st, they'll pretend it never happened at all.
I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be.
Welcome to the show. You're one-on-one with Wes the Sports Guy here on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey, and online all the time at westhesportsguy.com. Bookmark that site if you want to get the podcast link, social media links. Everything you want to know in the world of sports is all conveniently located for you at westhesportsguy.com. This week's episode is going to be a brief breakdown of the MLB season so far, as we are not quite at the halfway point, but we're getting pretty close here for the 2023 MLB season. We're going to look at contenders, wildcard teams, division leaders, and cellar dwellers in Major League Baseball. We'll start off with the division leaders, as we have the Tampa Bay Rays, Texas Rangers, and Minnesota Twins all leading their divisions in the American League, as with the National League, the Atlanta Braves, Arizona Diamondbacks, and Milwaukee Brewers are currently in the lead for their respective divisions in the National League. If you want to say what is the surprise in this category, the one surprise would probably have to be the Arizona Diamondbacks. You would not have expected them, as of June 17th, being in first place in the NL West. You would have probably predicted the LA Dodgers or the San Diego Padres to be one of the teams leading that division at this point in the season. But alas, it is the Arizona Diamondbacks with a legit ace in Zach Gallen and a crop of young up-and-coming baseball players, mainly with Corbin Carroll leading the charge as the favorite to win the National League Rookie of the Year, leading that team in its prowess for a postseason berth. If there was one team that I think is not going to finish in the division lead at the end of the season, when this is all said and done for the postseason, it's probably going to be a toss-up between the Minnesota Twins and the Milwaukee Brewers. Why do I say those two? Because they have a very narrow lead in their division right now. Do I think it's going to last going into the season? Probably not. If I had to bet which one's going to do it, it's probably going to be the Minnesota Twins, just because I think the Cleveland Guardians as a whole have a better pitching staff than the Minnesota Twins. And in the National League, I say the Brewers have a better pitching staff than the contenders that are going after them, being Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, respectively. But that division is a lot easier to maintain with Milwaukee as it is with Minnesota having to contend with the Cleveland Guardians for the rest of this season. As we look at the wildcard leaders currently in the American League and National League, the one team that definitely sticks out as the surprise is the Miami Marlins. They have really just pitching, and more pitching. That is a big reason why they're still in a wild card spot as of June 17th in this season. Are they going to maintain it with that current lineup? We shall see, because they're going to probably have to make a move or two. But with the Latin Tony Gwynn, Luis Arias leading the charge for the Miami Marlins in that lineup, they don't need a whole lot, but they do need a little more oomph to give him some added help to go with that extensive pitching staff that they have to show for this team so far. Is there a team here that could easily take the division instead of a wild card spot? Sure, you could say it's the Houston Astros. Yeah, the Texas Rangers have gone off to a great start this season. The Astros are quickly on their heels. The Los Angeles Dodgers, they're not completely out of it in the NL West. Yes, Arizona's been a better team so far this season, but you have to expect the Dodgers to make a move or two as we get closer to the trading deadline on August 1st. So as of right now, I would say Astros and Dodgers have a better chance of getting it. The Orioles, if the Rays weren't having the season that they're having, the Orioles would easily be in first place in the American League East. And then, yes, you have the Yankees getting a wild card spot, but they've been kind of stumbling, having some injuries of late. But they're still going to be a contender down the stretch because, let's face it, they are the New York Yankees. And you could say another surprise is the San Francisco Giants getting a wild card spot currently as of June 17th. But long term, we'll see how that goes in the NL West, which is going to be a lot more competitive than people thought. Everybody was thinking it was going to be Dodgers, Padres. But as you can see, it's clearly not just those two. You've got Arizona, and now you've got the San Francisco Giants. So you got to love the competitiveness out there in the NL West. Now, when you look at the list of remaining contenders in the American League and National League based off of their records as of June 17th, a few teams kind of stick out as a sore thumb, you would say. The Cincinnati Reds and Pittsburgh Pirates, really? You have them still as contenders right now? Yeah, absolutely, because the NL Central is up for grabs. They're not that far back of the Brewers right now. Could they make some moves to be instant contenders and try to make a last-ditch push to get either a wild card spot. Not likely with the records of those teams right now, but they have a better chance of getting the NL Central. And yes, they could definitely make a move or two to solidify their chances of winning the division. And you also might wonder, why do we have the Mets and Padres? They're playing so poorly this season with all the money and all the moves that they made in the offseason. Well, because of that, that's why I have them still as contenders. Yes, it's not going to be an easy road to get there, but these two teams did make the postseason last year as wildcard teams. I would expect them to at least make it interesting down the stretch. And if they don't, then you can meme them to death because it's coming. Whether they actually get to the postseason or not, this has been a very disappointing season from those two. And on the American League side, you might be wondering, why are the Cleveland Guardians there? Well, as I mentioned before, they're right on the heels of the Minnesota Twins. So their only chance of really getting the postseason is claiming the disastrous AL Central, how terrible that division has been all season long. Surprise, surprise, the Angels are right there on the heels of the Yankees, clinching a playoff spot with the wild card. Toronto, Boston are still playing great baseball in the American League East thus far. They're not ahead of New York or Baltimore or Tampa Bay, but the AL East has been a juggernaut all season long, and it's going to continue going well into the fall in September and October. Seattle still in it, but not playing great baseball as of late, but there's still plenty of baseball left to go. As I said, we are not quite at the halfway point of the season. And frankly, as of this point, there are teams where it's just not going to happen this year. Yes, Detroit and Chicago, the White Sox, they play in a terrible division. Yes, mathematically, they're still alive for the division, but do I realistically see either one of these teams claiming the division? No, it's not going to happen. And the main reason why is there are just too many issues at too many key spots, whether it be their pitching, the bullpen, starting pitching, their depth, injury problems, the lineup inconsistencies, just bats falling asleep, all those kinds of things. I do not see it happening for those two in the AL Central. You look at the National League, yes, the Cubs still have a puncher's chance with their record not being as bad as Colorado's, Washington's, and St. Louis. But with these four, I think it's better to just kind of plan ahead, pick the spots that you can make some moves here coming up at the trade deadline. You don't have to completely dismantle everything, although Washington kind of did last year and the year before that. But it's going to have to be a semi-reset for the Cardinals especially, not so much the Cubs. But with the Rockies playing in that division, it's just all these teams need to think about what's going to happen next year. And last but definitely least is the cellar dwellers. These two franchises haven't even won 20 games yet at this point of the season. The Kansas City Royals and Oakland Athletics are going for that staple record of most losses in a season in the American League of 119 set by the Detroit Tigers in 2003. Oh, what a team that was. They almost had 3 starting pitchers lose 20 games that season. They only had one. That was Mike Maroth. Yes, the heralded Mike Maroth lost 21 games that year for the Detroit Tigers. But you look at the Royals and the Athletics, they are in kind of similar situations where the Athletics are just about out of Oakland, really. They're going to get a new deal and new city in Las Vegas, Nevada in the not-too-distant future. That's pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered by the Nevada legislation. And then you look at the Kansas City Royals, who new ownership has recently been talking about wanting to get a new stadium as well in Kansas City. So there's the similarities there, and also when it comes to on the field, because both of these teams are just awful.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Leave a comment below. Do you agree with how things are shaping out in Major League Baseball? Do you think your franchise, if they're a cellar dweller or they might have to think about what they're going to do next year to contend, do you think that's actually not the case, that they can make a miraculous turnaround going into the summer months and into September to clinch a postseason spot for the playoffs? I mean, it's possible. I've seen crazier things, so it's certainly possible. But leave a comment below. Do you think your team has it all to win a World Series, and what moves do you think they're going to make going for a potential World Series championship later in October? Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell below to get notified when all the latest videos are posted on this channel, whether it be at YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, or Odyssey. Bookmark westofsportsguy.com. Recaps, previews, everything you want to know in the world of sports, all my social media links, the podcast link, conveniently located for you at westofsportsguy.com. I will see you next time.